Hello, John Bloodworth, Gentleman Crafter here again with another card layout. A nice simple one today, but something different to show you. I'm going to be using this card layout. So as you can see, there are just two rectangles shown in this design. And I will be using papers from the Gardenia paper pad from First Edition Papers. I'll also be using this stamp from Visible Image. It's a nice sentiment. Couple of dies, teeny tiny dies, and here are the selection of papers that I chose from the paper pad. I've obviously got my stamps and, my ink pads and acrylic block, and I've also selected the Nuvo drops just in case I need a bit of embellishment. Now, something different here. I'm actually going to use the paper from the paper pad because it's still quite a thick paper to make the card. So it's an 8x8 paper, and I chopped it down by 2 inches, scored at 4 inches along the 8-inch edge to make a 6x4 card. There you go, nice and simple. Then I'm going to chop up the other bits of paper that I need, and of course if you need the measurements, please do head over to my blog, gentlemancrafter.com, where you can download this and all of the other card layouts to print and store or use, preferably use, but you can always just store them in a folder and forget about them. It's up to you. Anyway, so I've got my pieces of paper. I'd like to add some colour to the edge, so I'm using a Dusty Concord Distress ink, but basically I chose that to team it with the colour of the papers. So if you're using different papers, obviously just have a rummage through whatever inks you've got and find something that works. This is really just to sort of take away the stark edge between the two patterned papers and give the eye something to blend between the two. I'm using a sort of a dusky pink rose colour to edge the sage green polka dot paper, and then because that pigment ink is quite sticky, I'm blending down the edge with a sponge blending tool. I'm also going to add a bit of that pink to the edge of the patterned paper. And again, this just really intensifies that edge. These are simple tricks that you can do with any ink pads, and they just really sort of set off the papers without having to add too many extra layers. Okay, Pinflair bookbinding glue as ever. And even more important here, because I am using 2 pieces of paper rather than card and paper, I want to know that it's not going to buckle and crease. So that's my first layer on. And here's my next one. And again, I'm just using my gridded ruler to help me position that initially. And then I will just give it a good old rub over to make sure that glue sticks. Now I'm going to put that to one side and just pop the ruler on it to hold things down while I stamp out the sentiment. I'm using a stamp positioning tool from Crafts 2, but whatever you've got at home will work. And I'm using 2 shades of pigment ink. The hope was to have a blended sentiment, but actually after all I ended up stamping the darker colour all over anyway. So even if there's some crossover of colour, it's going to add some interest to that sentiment rather than just being a stark black. Hold that in place so the ink transfers, and then there we go. Be the reason someone smiles today. Oh, what a lovely sentiment. Obviously don't forget to clean off your stamps. I tend to dab a wet wipe all over rather than scrub it, because scrubbing it leaves fibres behind and that will affect future impressions. I'm just showing you here now that I've used the 2 small dies to create a couple of little embellishments that I'm going to use to finish the card off with. First I'm going to First I was going to ink the edge, but I remember now I kind of ended up putting the sticky pads on before I remembered. So I ended up inking it very carefully just after I'd taken the backings off the foam pads. Okay, so trying to position that. Now this isn't shown in the layout, and the reason for that was because I don't know what sentiments you've got at home. So you could have something that's pre-cut or a die that you want to use. So it's really just use whatever you've got available or whatever you want to use. So I'm just putting those leaves on, and then I'll pop the flower on top of those. As you can see, very minimal embellishments on this one, but I think you'll agree they look very, very nice. Classy and stylish, or classy not brassy. I don't know, whatever phrase you want to use. I'm just basically waffling. And then a trio of Nuvo drops at the top. I was hoping to get them in a straight line, but I didn't. Never mind. And that's pretty much it. Okay, there you go. That's card layout 26. Thanks for watching. That's it for this time. If you've enjoyed this video, please remember to give it a thumbs up. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments section below. And for more from me in the future, please remember to subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching.